So today we are going to have a look at two tools which are extremely similar, and you could even say that one is a simplified version of the other one, and they are the Randomizer tool, have a look at the pane down here, and the Set tool. As you can see, looks very similar, so I figured it would make sense to talk about these two. And then next time we're going to have a look at the other ones in between here, the keyboard, the microtuner, and the duration, maybe even the control slider, because they are all very easy, kind of self-explanatory. But yeah, so let's go ahead. I have my keytar here again this time, so I can demonstrate things for you. So let me go ahead and drag the keyboard split into my pipe. Of course, if this is the first video you're watching, you want to know more about the input, I have a video here about that. This is where you would select your controller. Then here you can drag different tools into your pipe to transform MIDI coming from your controller. And then you can even use an output to send it to your DAW. And then I have an A-list tool. Let me actually stop monitoring this active sensing kind of junk that my keytar is sending for some reason. But this is just a monitoring tool. On this video there is a more detailed description of that, but this is going to allow us to see what happens. So as you can see, if I press a note, right, note on, note off, what note I'm pressing, and the velocity. And as you can see, it's always going to be 64 because this keytar is not velocity sensitive. So let's have a look at our, sorry, not the keyboard split. Why did I drag the keyboard split tool in here? The randomizer is what we're discussing today. Right, there we go. So we have a bunch of options here. We can randomize parameters related to note on and off messages, control change messages, pitch wheel messages, program change messages. All of that I'm going to demonstrate to you, but this keytar, as you can probably imagine, if it's not velocity sensitive, it certainly is not going to be aftertouch sensitive. So those two I will not be able to demonstrate, but once you understand the rest, it's pretty self-explanatory. They work exactly the same way as the other parameters. So let's start with the note on-off messages first. So we can randomize our note messages, meaning that if I play C3, what this tool is going to do is it's going to receive C3 and output a random note, and you can set a range of notes the tool could pick from using the minimum and maximum value menus here. So right now this is set to anything between C-2, which is the lowest possible MIDI note, all the way up to G8, which is the highest possible. So let's see what happens here. I'm going to press C3 just like before. And this time we get C6. The next time we get A#2. You get how this works, right? Of course, you can reduce the range. If I set this to maybe C#-2. Now I have a range of 2 possible notes. This is going to randomize between. So this time we got C-2. This time we got C#. C# again, C# again. As you can see, it's completely random. It's not a 50-50 kind of thing. Right, so let's deactivate the note parameter and let's mess with the velocity a little bit. And again, you can set the range anywhere between 0 and 127 in this case. So let me clear the list here. Press my note. This time we got a note on velocity of 4. This time we got 7, so very low numbers. This time we got 67, you get the drill. Now we could reduce the range here too if you wanted. And we can of course randomize notes off velocities as well. And this is interesting because in order to count as a note off message, the velocity of it needs to be 0. If it's anything greater than 0, it will count as note on. Let me show you. I'm gonna set our range so that our note off messages, which my keytar is sending a value of 0, but this is going to randomize that value between 1 and 127. So we're excluding 0, and look what happens. See, we got 86, meaning that our note off message has actually become a note on message. So this is probably not the intended use for this tool, but you could use it to kind of double trigger notes, both when you press your key and when you let go. a node gets triggered, which could be useful for performance purposes. We got a couple more options down here, and these options are going to apply to any transformation we do here. Not just the nodes, but also control change or whatever it is we're doing. And the first option is to duplicate the original message. So let me show you what that looks like. Let's say we want to randomize our node, right? So watch what happens. I press my node, and this time I get 2 node on messages. This one down here is my original message, right? And this one up here is the randomized message. And then if I let go, I get a double node off as well. The original one and, this is the original one and this is the randomized one. Same thing works for velocity as well. Let me show that to you. I press my node here, I get 2 nodes again. 2 different node on velocity levels. This is the original one, this is the randomized one. This time we get only 1 node off because we're not selecting node off velocity, so that message doesn't get duplicated. And of course, we can also set the channel of the randomized message, not the original one, the randomized one. We can set it to any value. So let's do the same experiment again. Press a key here. So as you can see, the original message, channel 1, node C3. The randomized message is F# -2 on channel 10. And the same goes for the node of velocity. So the converted, so to speak, the randomized message is set to whatever channel you set here. The original one, of course, is not affected. Okay, so that's the node on off pane. If I now switch to a different kind of parameter, to a different kind of MIDI message, I should say, very important thing, this will not deactivate the node randomization, right? I used to think this would be the case, and I didn't understand why my nodes were being randomized, and this is because this is still active. So even if it's hidden, it still works behind the scenes. So if you don't want any node randomization to go on, you need to actually deactivate, uncheck all these boxes before switching to a different MIDI message. So control change, I have here a button, and this button sends out vibrato. So let me show that to you, right? When I press it, the value is 127. When I release it, the value is 0. But we can randomize that. So we select our control, the modulation wheel control in this case. We activate the randomization. We can set a range. Let's just leave it like that. And as you can see, now we get 80 and 96. Now we get 126 and 46. So it's going to randomize everything for you. Okay, let's deactivate this. Let's move on to pitch wheel. Now, pitch wheel messages are a little more complex in that, as you can see, they have kind of a double number thing going on here. But we can randomize them much the same way as we did the rest. Let's maybe set this to a smaller interval. But as you can see, all the values here are between 0 and 128. So that's how that works. Why did I set this to 0? I don't know, don't ask me. Let me deactivate it here. Program change messages, we can mess with those too. Luckily, this guitar can send out program change messages too. Let me show that to you real quick. When I press 00, we get message 0, we get program 0. When I select 01, we get program 1, 02 is program 2, of course, and so on and so forth. But we can randomize that, right? Why would you want to be able to select the correct preset when you could just randomly choose one? Yeah, let's just activate this. And as you can see, I'm going to press 00 a couple times. So this time we get 87. This time we get 110. You get the picture. So now that we know all of this, even though I cannot demonstrate to you channel aftertouch or polyphonic aftertouch, I think you pretty much get the picture. Oh wait, let me deactivate program change messages here. You can activate pressure randomization, and so you can just press your key, and once you reach the bottom, the keypad, you can keep pressing, and you can generate a value depending on the amount of pressure that you exercise. But you could also randomize this value, right? Whereas for polyphonic aftertouch, you can do the same thing, but it's per key. So every note has its own kind of different pressure thing going on, which you can randomize, and you can also randomize the note. That's how it works. And of course, these parameters down here, like I said, they are going to apply to aftertouch as well, if you have that selected. Control change messages as well, if you have those enabled. Everything here is going to be affected by these options. Okay, that's it for the randomizer, but imagine having a very, very simple, basic randomization thing going on. Let's say that we wanted to randomize note on velocity, but instead of having a range of possible random values, let's set this to 63, just to see some different numbers here, right? Always 63. So you might wonder, well, why do I need two parameters, min and max, when I want just one parameter to be output? Well, in that case, you can just get rid of the randomizer tool and use the set tool. Looks exactly like the randomizer tool, but you don't have those two options. You only have one single value. So let me demonstrate that to you. I'm going to set this note on velocity value to 63, and as you can see, all my note on messages are now 63. So whenever you don't need a range, but just one individual value, use this tool. It's just the same thing, but quicker, right? You could use the randomizer tool as well, but you would need to set the two values to the same value. Excuse my English there. So why not just use the set tool, which is much easier. And as you can see, it looks exactly like the randomize tool. You have the same kind of MIDI messages, you have the same extra options. The only difference is you have one value instead of two. So there's that, and that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to support what I'm doing here, why not become a channel member? You can join at different tiers, get different kinds of digital perks, lots of cool stuff. If you click the join button down there, you won't automatically join. You can just safely check out all the options, and if you don't want to go ahead, you can still click out of there very easily. But yeah, I would encourage you to check that out, or at least subscribe to the channel. Come on. Right? Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video next week. Take care.